build the anticipation.
There you go, build the anticipation. Good morning, everyone. My name is Keith Ellison. I'm the Attorney General for the state of Minnesota. In May 2021, two shooters sprayed bullets at each other on a crowded sidewalk outside a Minneapolis nightclub. 7 were wounded and 2 people were killed, including a local college senior celebrating his graduation. In August 2023, a Minneapolis police officer was ambushed when approaching a group of robbery suspects. In a barrage of gunfire, including 12 shots from one gun in a matter of seconds, the officer was hit in the shoulder. The bullet narrowly missed a major artery and lodged in his chest. In both of these incidents, the shooters were arrested by law enforcement and held accountable for the crimes in a court of law. But I want to talk about another party in these incidents that has not yet had to answer for their conduct. The firearms dealer at the center of both of these incidents were Glock handguns. Whereas standard semi-automatic Glock handguns fire 1 bullet with each trigger pull, the guns in these cases have been converted into fully automatic weapons using a simple, cheap device called a Glock switch. These devices can easily be inserted into the back of Glock handguns, allowing them to fire continuously with a trigger pull, one single trigger pull. Now, I want to show you a video, but before I do, I want to tell you who's here with me today. I want you to know that Greg and his family and his wife lost their son to this tragic incident. You're going to hear from him in a moment. We're here with Chief O'Hara of Minneapolis-Police-Department, who sees this all too much. We're here with the Ramsey County Attorney's Office, Assistant County Attorney Howe, who's here. And we're here with the Giffords Foundation, which specializes in stopping gun-related violence all over our country, and with members of the University of Minnesota Law School Anti-Gun Clinic, who work every day and on this issue as well. And we're here with many friends and family members. The people you see here and with me today are just a very small fraction of the people whose lives have been impacted by Glock switches. And they're here, and you're going to hear from many of them who will tell you about why we've got to bring change to this situation. The complaint, and Matt, do you have the complaint, Chief? The complaint that we will file today, this document, about 79, 80 pages, lays out in detail the culpability of Glock, the long length of time they have known that these switches were easily adapted to their guns, their efforts to promote automatic weapons even though they can't sell them to anyone except law enforcement. And we will go into that. But I just want everyone to know that there is a group of people who've been directly impacted here with me today, but they represent many parents around this country and sadly even around this world. So with that, let's start with the Glock switch demo video. You all can move over to see it if you'd like. Can everybody hear? Is that it? So that's a big and obvious difference between semi-automatic and fully automatic. Glock has known about this problem for decades and has done nothing. A change of design could prevent these handguns from being turned into illegal automatic weapons. But Glock has turned a blind eye, and again, the death toll continues to rise. And so today, my office is announcing a lawsuit against Glock for its design, manufacture, and sale of the semi-automatic guns that are easily converted into illegal machine guns, and for their refusal to fix a known hazard. Glock is in violation of several Minnesota laws: the Prevention of Consumer Fraud Act, the Deceptive Trade Practices Act, the False Statement and Advertising Act, as well as public nuisance, negligence, and products liability laws. Guns are the leading cause of death for young people in this country. Guns are the leading cause of death for young people in this country, cutting short more young lives than cancer and car crashes. And guns are also responsible for about 75% of law enforcement deaths in the line of duty. This is for the general public. It's also for the guardians who step into the line, into danger to protect us. This is about protecting our kids. Glock's actions and their inaction violate Minnesota law and put kids, communities, and law enforcement in danger, and this has to stop. We are not asking Glock to stop selling handguns. We are asking Glock to change their design of its semi-automatic handguns available to the public so that they cannot be easily converted into illegal machine guns. Glock switches can be purchased online for as little as $10, and installing one doesn't require any special tools or technical know-how. One of our staff members says it's like changing a battery on a remote on your television set. This growing problem, the amount of Glock switches recovered by Minneapolis Police Department in 2023 was more than triple what they recovered in 2021. Chief will tell you more about that. Rounds of machine gun fire in detected Minneapolis went from 154 in 2020 to 2,600 in 2023. I'll repeat that again. Rounds of machine gun fire that were detected by the Minneapolis System Shot Spotter went from 154 in 2020 to nearly 2,600 in 2023. There's a screen that I'd like you to direct your attention to, if you can see that. We have every reason to believe that without decisive action from Glock, these numbers will rise. Preachers will do more funerals. Families will grieve more children. We've got to act, and we've got to act now. So my office is taking action to protect Minnesotans from this foreseeable harm. But this isn't just a gun problem. It is a Glock problem. I know many people will wonder, well, you know, is it just Glock? It's just about just Glock. 2 out of every 3 handguns sold in the U.S. is a Glock. Glock is fully aware of how easy it is to turn their handguns into machine guns. And Glock markets its fully automatic models widely, even though Glock knows models are not available to the general public. Think about that. Why would they market a product that the public cannot sell unless they know that there's a very easy way for the public to adopt what they're proposing to be purchased? Glock even promotes its fully automatic machine guns as fun. So you look at the poster board here. Take a look at that. Eric, you want to just point out what we're looking at right there?
Yeah, so we have 2 advertisements here that are from Glock. So this first one is showing 2 Glock. These are fully automatic handguns that are sold by Glock. They're for law enforcement, not for the general public. But Glock is advertising them on its public social media and saying the G18 and G18C, that's the 2 fully automatic weapons, double your pleasure, double your fun with both guns here. This one down below, it's showing someone at a shooting range shooting the full auto Glock handgun. And it says that this person knows the only thing more fun than a Glock is a full auto Glock.
So they're advertising a product that they cannot sell to the general public. Why? Unless they knew that there's a very easy, cheap, and affordable fix. And look, at this New Year's Eve promotional video that does just what I'm talking about, if we can start that video. See what happens there? He starts firing a semi-automatic weapon to ring in the new year. He starts firing a fully automatic weapon. And what reason would Glock have to promote that to the general public? It could only lead more people to seek out an easy, affordable way to get that feature for themselves, which is the Glock switch, which converts the Glock semi-auto into a machine gun, which the general public is not allowed to purchase. A big part of the safety is making sure that perpetrators of the crime are held accountable. My office will continue to prosecute these cases alongside county attorney colleagues throughout the state of Minnesota. In so many cases, when you only look at the latest link in the chain of events, the stolen car, the lost life in gunfire, you miss seeing the companies that make these crimes ultimately possible. My office is always ready to look up the chain to try to make sure we prevent crime if we can. I want to thank the people in my office who've worked so hard. Deputy Attorney General James Kennedy and Jessica Whitney, Assistant Attorneys General Katie Morkey, Eric Maloney, Sarah Doctori, John Woodruff, Eric Kolbeck, and Jason Plagencool, and Jacob Harris. Manager Outside Counsel Relationships, Mary Ann Ellis, Legal Assistant Julie Jepson, and Graphics and Design Guru Casey Weber. Also, I'd like to introduce to you a good friend of every single Minnesotan and certainly every Minneapolitan, and that is Brian O'Hara. He is the chief of police in the city of Minneapolis. After that, you'll hear from Greg Johnson, the father of Charlie, the young man who tragically lost his life in that May 2021 shooting I mentioned. Rose Lewis, law student from University of Minnesota's Gun Violence Prevention Clinic, and then Leica Menon, attorney from the Giffords Law Center. I'll give you now Brian O'Hara.
Thank you, AG. I just want to start off by offering my condolences, Mr. Johnson, to you, to your family, to the loved ones of Charlie. As the Attorney General mentioned, Charlie was murdered in a multiple victim mass shooting where two violent criminals were shooting at each other with handguns that were fully converted into machine guns because of these switches. So oftentimes we see these numbers on charts, understand that there are families, there are friends, there are loved ones, there are entire neighborhoods that are impacted by every single round. Attorney General, I just want to thank you for your leadership in this matter. The Attorney General, multiple times in the short time I've been here, has been helpful to us to try and do everything that we can to address the violent crime that's been affecting so many people in our community. The Attorney General has been successful before, helping us, aside from arresting people, charging people, sending people to federal prison. He has been helpful to using the civil law to decrease the opportunity for violent criminals to commit these crimes in the first place. Why would we not want to do that? We have been prosecuting dozens of people that have been using possessing these illegal machine guns, using them in violent crimes, but it's way too easy for others to do the same. So thank you, Attorney General, for taking the leadership to hold this manufacturer accountable for making it way too easy to commit this violence. On August 11th, 2023, I got a phone call. I had just gotten home from work that there was a Minneapolis police officer shot in the line of duty. And I rushed to the hospital that night. Officer Jacob Spies was following what he thought undetected, a group of people that were going around in Minneapolis and surrounding areas committing robberies. He thought he was undetected, and all of a sudden, he was very violently and very suddenly ambushed. And one of the gunmen that fired upon him had a gun that was equipped with a switch. And so I went to this scene, and I saw the vehicle that Officer Spies was driving in just riddled with holes, and I saw one round that went through the headrest directly behind on the driver's side where he was sitting. And I was talking to Officer Spies in the hospital, and I'll never forget how he described the sound of, a dozen rounds being fired, and they're all fired before you can even react. That's the reality of the situation for our police officers. And Officer Spies is still walking around with a bullet in his body that thankfully did not hit an artery and cause his death. Over the past few days, we hosted over 600 law enforcement officials, police chiefs from major cities around the country, 52 U.S. attorneys' offices, and other law enforcement leaders in Minneapolis to talk about violent crime. And one of the topics that was a subject of this summit was the problem with machine gun conversion devices. And so I want to show you a video that was created by the Department of Justice's Anti-Machine Gun Diversion Device Committee, which they are using to try and raise awareness of what our cops are up against.
Do you want to call it a reckless or DUI if they take off? 145. He's been swerving. There we go. Move your head real quick. Oh, stop. Go.
I want to see hands when this door opens. Call me. Put your hands up now! Put your hands up! 0215 will get you at gunpoint. He's running to get me hit.
Dion, you need to step out. It's Houston Police. Dion, it's Houston Police. Let's do this.
Get ambulance!
Tragically, that Houston police officer did not survive. I think it's very obvious from the video. You can tell, seeing it and hearing it, violent criminals are able to pull the trigger once and fire dozens and dozens of rounds at police officers, at innocent people, and in the case of police, before the officer even has a chance to react. You hear the difference when an officer is firing their handgun one round at a time versus dozens with one trigger pull. And this problem's been exploding, and it's not just a problem in Minneapolis or greater Minnesota. As you see, this is a problem for communities, and it's especially a serious officer safety risk for the entire country. We know because in Minneapolis, we've had a gunshot detection system called ShotSpotter for well over a decade. So because we are able to cover most of the city where most of the gun violence occurs, we know automatic gunfire did not even exist in Minneapolis until August 13th, 2020. That was the first time automatic gunfire was detected in the city. And it has increasingly been a problem since then. I think one of the charts here that shows the amount of rounds being fired from 2019 versus 2022, half of that, over 3,000 rounds, were detected in automatic gunfire in Minneapolis. This is a huge problem that's been exploding. And we know of the 153 firearms that we have recovered with an auto-sear, with a switch, a machine gun diversion device, of the 153, 126 were Glock firearms. Several others were ghost guns, imitation firearms that are essentially imitating one of the models of Glock. This is not a political issue. This should not be a partisan issue. This is a violent crime issue. This is an officer safety issue, and it is urgent. And so I'm just incredibly thankful to the Attorney General for having the leadership to step forward and do this, because it's obvious. You look at social media posts, you look at other things, it's obvious, people are making money off of other folks' misery. So,
Thank you, Chief.
thank you, General.
And now, Greg, if you'd like to share some thoughts.
Sure. I have a horrible job today, and I'm proud to do it. My job is to take this abstract notion of a machine pistol and bring it to life. So we have the honor of being the parents that receive that call in the middle of the night, the call that nobody wants. That our son, who was getting ready for college graduation the next day, had been killed. So I'm here got two purposes today. I want you to remember Charlie and understand what the world lost. And I want to share some thoughts on these switches. So now I can smile a little bit and remember Charlie. So Charlie was 21 years old. He couldn't be more proud of the young man he'd become. He had a huge heart. He was very generous. He had heroes in his life, number one being his big sister. We'll get there. Who was courageous enough to walk across his commencement stage and accept his diploma and finish that journey. Charlie had friends around the world. Many considered him their best friend. He had the heart and the capacity to have dozens of best friends. He was mine. Loved his mother, cherished her, protected her. And we received that call at about 2:30 in the morning that he was no longer with us. After that time, we learned how big of a crowd we were among in terms of families of victims, people that had, so often the word unspeakable tragedy is used. Well, I need to speak about it. They're all over this country. And it's not okay to do nothing. And there are some common sense things that can be done. Look, I'm a lifelong hunter and gun owner, and I've asked myself many times, what's the purpose of a device like this switch that can turn a handgun into a semi-automatic? And I can only think of two. One is increase my ability to put a bullet in a human being. No other. The other one is, I think it's cool and I want to be able to do that. Obviously, that's what Glock is marketing. Think of how many additional handguns they've sold, knowing that this was possible, and knowing it increases the demand for their handguns. Shame on them. No reason for it. It's a common sense thing to do. They're illegal, they know they're illegal, and they should be held accountable to it. So, my question is very simple. Why not support this? If I had one, I can tell you, I would go hit it with a hammer in my garage and it would cease to exist. I encourage anybody out there to do that. Get rid of these things. And we can get rid of the ability of the company to make guns that'll use them in the future. So remember our son Charlie and all the victims like him? They're real people. Their loss leaves holes all over the planet. And the world will never know what this bright young spirit could have accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And now, I'd like to ask Ms. Lewis to come forward, Rose Lewis. Rose, oh, sorry.
Thank you so much, Mr. Johnson, for sharing Charlie with us. That was incredibly moving, and we're very grateful you're here today.
Thank you.
My name is Rose Lewis, and I'm a third-year law student at the University of Minnesota. I am a student director at the Gun Violence Prevention Clinical Program at the law school. We are the first and only in-house law school clinic in the entire country that focuses exclusively on reducing deaths, injuries, and trauma relating to gun violence. We serve as Special Assistant Attorney Generals and work in cooperation with the Attorney General's office to defend Minnesota's gun laws against constitutional challenges in court. And maybe a little bit more relevant to today, we also sue members of the firearms industry to hold them accountable for their wrongful conduct. And we are so incredibly proud to partner with the Attorney General's office and Giffords Law Center in this lawsuit. It has been such an honor and a privilege to join all of these incredible attorneys who have been brave enough to demand better for our communities here in Minnesota. As part of my work, I researched the case of William River Smith, a 20-year-old man from Burnsville who purchased a Glock switch from an informant. He planned to use this Glock, equipped with its switch, to kill police officers. And he wanted that automatic Glock because it's fun, using the exact language that Glock uses in its own advertising. Its own advertising of fully automatic weapons that are illegal for civilian use. And it's exactly cases like these why we're here today, why we need to stand up and protect our communities, and why I'm so honored to be part of this lawsuit to hold Glock accountable for its wrongful advertising and product design and demand that they do better. Thank you so much, and thank you again, Mr. Johnson.
Leica Menon from Giffords.
Good morning. I'm Leica Menon, an attorney with Giffords Law Center to prevent gun violence. On behalf of my organization, I am proud to stand with Attorney General Keith Ellison and the University of Minnesota Gun Violence Prevention Clinic, united in a critical mission to make communities safer and hold accountable those who endanger public safety for profit. Today, we announce a significant legal action against Glock, one of the largest manufacturers of handguns in the United States. For years, Glock has had the opportunity and the responsibility to prioritize safety in the design of its firearms. Instead, it has continued to manufacture semi-automatic handguns with a specific design that makes them uniquely susceptible to the installation of devices known as Glock switches. These cheap devices easily attach to Glock semi-automatic handguns and convert them into illegal, fully automatic machine guns that will fire bullets rapidly and continuously with a single pull of the trigger. Glock is not only aware of how its design enables easy conversion, but actually encourages conversion of its semi-automatic handguns by promoting Glock's fully automatic machine guns as fun and exciting. Glock has deliberately created a mystique around fully automatic machine guns, which are generally illegal for civilians to purchase. Glock continues to design and manufacture handguns that can easily be converted to mimic those very weapons through the use of Glock switches. This lawsuit, which is the first of its kind in Minnesota, challenges Glock's refusal to address preventable harm. Glock's failure to implement design changes and its reckless marketing and promotion of fully automatic weapons have had devastating consequences. The data is clear. Minnesota law enforcement and communities and families are grappling with a surge in gun violence involving semi-automatic Glock handguns converted into illegal and dangerous fully automatic machine guns with Glock switches. In response, Glock only glamorizes and exploits the allure of fully automatic machine guns, and of course, continues to profit on the sale of its uniquely dangerous design. Glock is sending Minnesota a clear message: profits matter more than lives. This lawsuit represents a significant step in our collective effort to protect safety and hold Glock accountable for its role in enabling deadly violence in Minnesota. Thank you all for being here, and thank you to Attorney General Ellison and everyone else here for demonstrating courage in this fight against gun violence. Thank you.
Thank you. And so let me thank everyone again, particularly Chief Brian O'Hara, Minneapolis Police Department, and the entire department in the city of Minneapolis. Greg Johnson, father of Charlie, and also let me thank and everyone in the Johnson family and all the friends. Rose Lewis of the University of Minnesota Law Clinic in Lake Minnetonka. Also, let me make a special acknowledgement to Hao Nguyen, who's director of the trial division of the Ramsey County Attorney's Office, and John Choi, who couldn't be here with us today. So if you all have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
Attorney General, what relief are you seeking in this lawsuit? Is it monetary? Is it a change in the product? And how do you intend to get that?
We're seeking both. The main thing we want is for them to change the design of this weapon. That's what we need. There have been people who've suffered and deserve compensation, but the main thing we really want, the spirit of this lawsuit, is to change the design of this semi-automatic weapon so that it's not easily convertible to a illegal machine gun.
Well, switches are already illegal, right, in Minnesota?
They are?
So, I can see what somebody's gonna say, well, why don't you just enforce the law that we already have?
Well, it's very clear that police officers are doing that. They're arresting people with switches, but why not go upstream? Why not stop the problem before you end up with the loss of life? Glock has the power to change their design so that you can't just pop a switch on there like you can change a battery on a remote. They can do it, and they must, and they should. And so that's what we're demanding here today. And we know that, yes, people will steal cars, people will illegally use guns, people do a lot of crimes. But if we can get Glock to change its design so that they reduce the opportunity, that will save lives.
Have other states pursued similar litigation, and what does that look like if they have, and if not, why not?
New Jersey's doing it today. And what we have seen, and I think one of the things the chief mentioned, and the chief may want to mention to this, we saw a dramatic increase, I mean a truly dramatic increase from 2020 to now in the use of these switches. And so the question of why not until now, well, until basically now, within a few years, we haven't seen this precipitous rise in these automatic gunfire. Chief, you want to elaborate? Yeah.
Just, again, just as the Attorney General said, I mentioned earlier, automatic gunfire did not exist in Minneapolis. We know that for a fact because we've had a gunshot detection system for more than a decade. It did not exist at all until August 13th, 2020. That was the first time automatic gunfire was detected, and it hasn't stopped since. And at the peak of the detections in gunfire, the highest amount of rounds recorded, over 3,000 rounds had been fired through automatic gunfire. Now, it's not that all of a sudden people are walking around with, Tommy guns from the 1930s or something. It's obvious what the problem is. It's switches. And in the vast majority of these cases, they're Glock handguns that they just drop a switch in. That's what's causing all of this. I believe the video may have demonstrated it. There's the ability to make switches using a 3D printer. There's the ability to get them off the internet. We arrested an individual in North Minneapolis about 2 years ago who was selling switches. He was getting them. We noticed we were getting, many nights getting automatic gunfire detected at a specific location in far north Minneapolis, near a park. And the investigation from that, we came to find out and identify an individual who was essentially, selling these switches in the community and driving a lot of the problem. But that's just one individual. And we've taken a lot of these guns off the street, a lot of these switches. We're sending every violent criminal that we can with a switch across to the U.S. Attorney's Office to hopefully send them to federal prison for many, many years, but that's not enough. It's not going to fix the problem. Like the Attorney General said, we are in the business of trying to save people's lives. That's what this is about. So this is about trying to do everything that we possibly can to address the problem, which is, let's take away the opportunity for them to do this so easily in the first place.
Thank you, Chief.
What about 3D printing? We've been hearing that's a growing problem. How do you tackle that if people have their own operations?
That's what the Attorney General is addressing here today. The way that these handguns are advertised, the way that they are manufactured, makes it too easy to convert them into machine guns. It's a design that has been known for some time to be easy, and the streets know this. If you talk to people on the street in neighborhoods that are most affected by a lot of these crimes, people will tell you, they go on the street, they call them Glock switches. There's a reason for that.
You maintain that it's the back of the gun, the frame, and the trigger bar. It's unique to Glock's design, right? But when Glock sells their handguns, as you said, like 65% of the handguns in the country are Glocks. They are semi-automatic, and they are completely legal to sell to registered buyers. And there's a Second Amendment and such. And Glock has used this defense against Chicago in their lawsuit, that they are under the law able to sell these guns. How do you prepare to counter that argument against Glock if they are not the ones doing illegal additions to their guns? Those are host customers and secondary markets, et cetera, that are the choices of users to do. So how do you hold Glock liable for a legal product that they sell?
We're not trying to stop them from selling guns. We're trying to stop them from selling a design that makes their gun particularly easy to convert, as you know. And they're advertising automatic weapons not available to the general public so that they're essentially encouraging people to buy these switches. So that's what we're going to do. We believe that they know they have an obligation to change their design, and because they've knowingly and foreseeably refused to do so and have actually tried to benefit from the illegal conversion, that they're liable and culpable. And so it's all in here, and I encourage you to read it.
Did you find that in Ramsey County, or?
Hennepin. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Maybe some other folks can be around for more questions. Again, we're here to protect families just like the Johnsons. This is a tragedy that we can prevent if we are willing to act, and we should. And I want to be clear, I'm very proud of the work law enforcement is doing to take these switches off the street and prosecute people who use them. They're doing their job. There's more of the job that can be done to protect lives, stop funerals, and allow people to grow up to be who it is that they're here to be.